أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Ayah number 71 وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. The believing men and the believing women, they are allies of one another. In the previous ayat, who was mentioned? The munafiqun. That the munafiq men and the munafiq women, they are بَعْضُهُمْ مِنْ بَعْضٍ. They are one of another. They belong to the same group of people. They share the same characteristics. Over here, with regard to the believers, again, mu'minun are mentioned and mu'minat are mentioned. Men are mentioned and the women are mentioned. Because it's not only the men who are required to cooperate with one another and work together for the deen, but the women are also required to do that. Both are required. Generally, when it comes to serving the deen, what do we think? It's an obligation only on men. Women are not required to do it. Women are supposed to look after their houses, their husbands, their children, and that's it. But if you think of it, if women can go and gain an education, go and work, build their careers, then why can they not learn the Qur'an? Why can they not work for the deen? Of course they can. When they have the ability, when Allah gives them the opportunity, and when they are able to balance between both the things. When they're able to fulfill their obligations and at the same time fulfill this obligation as well, that is towards our deen. So وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, who are they? بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Some of them are allies of others, meaning they are friends of one another. It hasn't been said بَعْضُهُمْ مِنْ بَعْضٍ. Why? Because they are all on Iman. Because they are all believers. And it's not just that they share their characteristics, but they are also supporters of one another. The hypocrites, they only share their characteristics. And they also deceive one another. They also abandon one another. But the believers, they share their characteristics, and at the same time, they are also a source of support for one another. Supporting other believers is a requirement of Iman. A believer does not hold grudges, enmity for other believers. What does he do? He supports them. And supporting is that you tell them what is right. You stop them from what is wrong. If they're having a problem, you assist them. If they're doing something wrong, you correct them. If they want some help, you cooperate with them. You have the same mission as theirs. Both of you have the same goal. بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Even if they're working at different places. However, because their mission is the same, whenever they will meet, even if they're meeting for the first time, they will still have this bond with them. بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. They order that which is good. Because they do that which is good. They like good as well. And that is what they promote. Together. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Together, they command which is good to one another and also to others. As opposed to the hypocrites, what do? يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمُنْكَرِ. But the believer, he orders that which is good. Because Iman demands that a person calls others to goodness. If he likes something for himself, if he finds out that this is what Allah likes, then he wants that that action should be done by everybody. If he's benefiting, others should also benefit. And if doing this action is something that brings pleasure to Allah, then I want everybody to do it. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And they forbid that which is wrong. Because Iman demands that a person stops from wrong. He cannot think it's their choice. Let them do whatever they want to. No. He cannot tolerate that wrong is being done before his eyes. He does not like it. He stops people from doing wrong. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. And they also establish the salah. وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. And they also give the zakat. With regard to the munafiqun, what did we learn? نَسُوا اللَّهَ. They have forgotten Allah. But the true believers, يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. They establish the salah. The munafiqun, وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الصَّلَاةَ إِلَّا وَهُمْ كُسَالَى. But the believers, يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. They establish the salah. They don't pray lazily. They don't pray with their heart and mind absent. No, they concentrate. They have khushu'. وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, and they also give the zakat. What do the hypocrites do? يَقْبِضُونَ أَيْدِيَهُمْ, they restrain their hands, they don't spend. But the believers, يُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, and they obey Allah and His Messenger. The munafiqun, نَسُوا اللَّهَ, they have forgotten Allah. But the believers, they obey Allah and they also obey His Messenger. أُولَئِكَ, it is such people, سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ, Allah will show mercy to them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ, indeed Allah is mighty and wise. What do we learn in this ayah? The characteristics of the believers. And the first characteristic is that they are allies, they are friends of one another. Awliya is from wilaya. Wilaya is the opposite of adawa. What does adawa mean? Hatred. Believers don't have hatred for one another. They don't have hatred for one another. A true believer cannot hate another believer. He can have, differences from him. He can differ with him. He can disagree with him. It's possible that he does not like something that he does, but he cannot hate another believer. No. He cannot hate them. He can dislike them, but he cannot hate them. Why? Because they have iman. They are awliya of one another. Because if you look at it, no person is perfect. No human being is perfect. Every person makes mistakes. Isn't it so? And if you're working together, if you're together, striving for a goal, then it's not possible that nobody's going to make a mistake. People are going to make mistakes. But the fact that your goal is the same as their goal, that you want the pleasure of Allah and you want that for them as well, what are you going to do when you differ with them? What are you going to do when you dislike something in them? Are you going to hold grudges against them? Are you going to backbite them? No. What are you going to do? You're going to go correct them. If you cannot, at least you will think good about them. At least you will think, maybe he is more righteous than me. Maybe Allah likes him more than me. How do I know? Perhaps his iman is stronger than me. So a true believer can never hate another believer. Why? Because the other believer has iman, and that is sufficient that he should be liked. And he should not be hated. The Prophet ﷺ said, the believer to the believer is like a building. Its parts support each other. Its parts, what do? They support each other. If you remove the wall, if you say, I don't like this wall, I want to get rid of it. I don't like this door, I don't like this window, I want to get rid of it. When I'm here, this wall becomes a hindrance for me and I cannot look beyond. The window is too small. If you make these excuses, then what's going to happen? Eventually the whole building is going to collapse. Similarly, if based on just few differences you say, I don't like this person, I don't like that person, I'm not going to talk to them, I'm not going to see them again, then what's going to happen? The building is not going to stand together. It's not going to stand together. The fact that the other is a believer, you have to support him. You have to be an assistant for him. You have to cooperate with him. You cannot cut yourself off, because if you do, your building will not stand. You cannot be successful. The Prophet ﷺ also said, the example of the believers in compassion and mercy that they have for each other is like the example of one body. The believers are like one body when it comes to being compassionate and merciful to one another. If one part of it falls ill, the rest of the body suffers with fever and sleeplessness. Isn't it? For example, if a person has an infection, perhaps the infection is on the finger. Perhaps it's, somewhere in the body. But the whole body suffers from what? Fever. Isn't it so? The infection isn't only in one part of the body, but the entire body suffers from a fever. This is the connection that all believers must have. That if one is going through a problem, instead of saying, I don't care for them, and I'm sick of them, I'd like to cut off from them. No, what should you do? Feel for them. They need help. Help them, assist them, correct them, encourage them. They need some support as well. And if you don't feel for them, if you don't support them, then how will you go together? If you cut them off, you will become weak. You will suffer as well. Like for example, if a person says, there is an infection in my hand, I'm going to cut it off. You cut it off, you're not going to have a hand anymore. Just because you disagree with someone does not mean you have to get rid of them. They have iman. Appreciate them for their iman. Overlook their faults. Give excuses. Give reasons. Think positively about one another. And move on. Continue. For such believers, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ Allah has promised the believing men and the believing women. What has He promised them? جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ Gardens underneath which rivers flow. This is what Allah has promised them. Both the men and the women. The men and the women. Why are they both mentioned? Because both of them together hold the structure. If you cut off the women and say, no, they have no contribution in deen, they cannot serve the deen, is your building going to stand properly? No. If you cut off the men and say, we don't offer any services for the men, we're only a women-only institute, then what's going to happen? Your building is not going to be able to stand. You need both men and women. Both are necessary. Just like a family cannot survive with only women, with only men. Similarly, the family of Islam cannot survive unless and until both the women and men are contributing, are together working. وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ Allah has promised such believers جَنَّاتٍ gardens تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ And in there, they will be خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا abiding therein eternally. What else has Allah promised them? وَمَسَاكِنَ طَيِّبَةً Houses, dwellings that are طيبة. Masakin is a plural of maskan. Allah has promised them homes that are طيبة. What does طيبة mean? It's the feminine of طيب. What is طيب? Pure, good, pleasant. Isn't it? طيب food is what? That which is good for you. That which is enjoyable. It is delicious. You look at it, it looks good. You smell it, it smells beautiful. You taste it, it tastes good. This is what tayyib food is. So what would a tayyib house be? You look at it, it looks good. You live in it, it's peaceful. It's comfortable. It fulfills every need. Nothing is missing. Nothing is imperfect. And also tayyib is that which is favorable, that which is suitable. Rihun tayyibah is wind that is suitable, that is favorable. For example, if a ship is sailing on the sea, it needs winds that are favorable. Isn't it so? If the winds are blowing against the ship, that's not tayyibah. What is tayyibah? Which is favorable. So a house is tayyibah when you're living in it and it suits you. Not that you're living over there and you cannot get used to the atmosphere, or that there's no sunlight, or perhaps it smells a lot, or the wood is very old, or something or the other. It's not suitable. If you look at it, which house in this dunya is perfect? Which house? No house in this dunya is perfect. No house at all. Any house. You move from one house to the other. You renovate your house. You do anything. You will find that the houses of this dunya, they are not tayyibah. Which house is tayyib? The house of Jannah. Allah has promised such believers وَمَسَاكِنَ طَيِّبَةً good houses. Living in them will be a tayyib experience for them. They will enjoy living in those houses. فِي جَنَّاتِ عَدْنٍ in gardens of Eden. In gardens of eternity. These houses are where? In Jannati Adn. What does it mean by this? Jannati Adn. Adn is understood in two ways. First of all, it is understood as an ism alam. What does it mean by ism alam? A proper noun, a name of something. Like for example, girl is also a noun. But ism alam is shazia, for example. That's what? Ism alam. Similarly, Jannati Adn. Adn is what? One of the names of Jannah. One of the names of Jannah. Jannah has many names. Isn't it so? Sometimes Jannah is described as Firdaus. That's one of the levels of Jannah as well. It's one of the names as well. Sometimes the name is that we find in the Quran is Darul Khulud, Darul Salam, Lahum Darul Salam, Jannatul Ma'wa, Jannatul Na'im. So there are different names based on different levels of Jannah. So Jannati Adn, gardens of Eden, of Adn. So what does Adn mean? What's the first meaning then? It's one of the names in Jannah. Qurtubi, he said that Adn is a high level in Jannah, which is in its wasat, in its midst. And the other Jannat are around it. There's a hadith in which we learn about Jannatu Adn. Abu Darda, he narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said that Adn is daruhu, meaning darullah. It is the house of Allah. التي لم تراها عين ولم تخطر على قلب بشر, which no eye has ever seen and no mind has ever imagined. No heart of a human being has ever imagined it. You understand? This is Adn. وهي مسكنه ولا يسكنها معه من بني آدم غير ثلاثة. And it is his maskan. It is the house of Allah. None will dwell in it with him from the children of Adam except three. Who are they? النبيين والصديقين والشهداء. The prophets, the truthful ones, and the martyrs. Who? Nabiyyin, Siddiqeen, and Shuhada. Only these three. Only these three will be where? In Jannatu Adn. None else will be allowed to live over there. What about the rest of the Salihin? They will be elsewhere. There are other levels of Jannah as well. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, طُوبَى لِمَنْ دَخَلَكَ. That glad tidings for the one who enters you. Okay, Nabiyyin, there's no way. Right? For us. But As-Siddiqeen wa Shuhada, there is still a chance. A possibility. Allah knows. Try. You might make it. So this is Jannatu Adn. What is Jannatu Adn? A certain level of Jannah. Adn is an ism alam. Secondly, Adn is understood as a sifa. What is a sifa? An attribute. So it is a sifa of Jannat. It is an adjective that describes Jannat. So then we have to know the literal meaning of the word Adn. If it's a word that is describing Jannah, then we have to know what it means. What does Adn mean? Adn literally means istiqrar and sabat. What does that mean? Stability and firmness. Stability and firmness, to stay somewhere. It is said, Adana bil makan, meaning he stayed in that place for a very long time. He stayed in that place for a very long time. From the same root is the word ma'din. What is it? Ma'dan. Minerals that are extracted from the earth. Where do you find them? In caves, under the earth, under the water. For example, gas, coal, gold, silver, salt. How long have these minerals been staying over there? How long? Thousands of years. Isn't it so? Thousands of years. So Adana is to stay somewhere for a long time. So Jannati Adn, how is it understood? Gardens of eternity. They will never be taken out from there. They will never want to go from there. Anywhere you go, what happens? Eventually you have to leave from there. You build a house, you want to live there, but eventually you know you're going to leave. You go to a hotel, you stay there. You wish that could become your house, but it does not become your house. Even if there is a person who is the GM, the general manager of that hotel, and if he gets to stay there for some time, eventually after a year or two, he will be transferred to another location. Eventually he will retire. This dunya is not eternal. Jannati Adn, gardens of eternity. The peace over there, the blessings over there, the people over there, the enjoyment, the pleasure, all of it is eternal. Everything in that Jannah is eternal. Never ending. And on top of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also give them what? وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرٌ. And pleasure, approval from Allah. That is the greatest. Greater than what? Greater than all of these rewards that are mentioned over here. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also bestow them with His ridwan, with His pleasure, with His approval. And that is greater than every other blessing that they will be given. ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. That is the great success. That is the supreme success. Not the success of this dunya. Actual success is that of Jannah, when a person has acquired the ridwan of Allah. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, he said, that we said, O Allah's Messenger, talk to us about Jannah. Tell us about Jannah. What is it built of? What is it made of? So he described Jannah to them. And he said, a brick of gold and a brick of silver. A brick of gold and a brick of silver. Its mortar, meaning that which is put to connect the bricks, is from musk. Its gravel is pearls and rubies. Its sand is saffron. Whoever enters it will enjoy the delights, and he will never be hopeless. He will enjoy the pleasures, every single thing he will enjoy over there, and he will never be hopeless. And he will live forever and will not die. His clothes will never decay. You know, you get really nice outfit, you wear it twice or thrice, and eventually what happens? You put it in the wash, you send it for dry cleaning, goes bad. Then you have to go hunting for something similar. But his clothes will never decay, nor will his youth ever end. His youth also will never end. His body even will not decay. The Prophet ﷺ also described Jannah as the two gardens. Their pots and whatever is in them are made of gold. And two gardens and their pots and whatever is in them are made of silver. You know how you have certain themes of colors? Similarly in Jannah also, but obviously much greater. The Prophet ﷺ also said with regards to Ridwan of Allah, that Allah the Exalted and ever high, He will say to the people of paradise, O people of Jannah, Ya Ahl al-Jannah. When people of Jannah will be there in Jannah, Allah will say to them, Ya Ahl al-Jannah. And they will all say, Labbaik, here we are, our Lord, and Sa'daik, we are happy at your service. Labbaik wa Sa'daik, here we are, and we are happy. And all the good is in your hand. Wal khayru fi yadayk. Labbaik Rabbana wa Sa'daik wal khayru fi yadayk. He will ask them, are you happy? Are you pleased? Are you satisfied? And they will say, why would we not be pleased with you, our Lord, while you have given us what you have not given any other of your creation? He will say, should I give you what is better than all of this? Something that is much better than all of this that you have? And they will say, oh Lord, what is better than all of this? What could be possibly something better than this that you have given us? He will say, I will grant you my pleasure and will never afterwards be angry with you. I will never be upset with you again. I will never be angry with you again. What happens in this dunya? You reach a level, you're like, yes, alhamdulillah, I feel a strong connection with Allah, and I feel so good. And the next day, you do something wrong. And you know that you've upset Allah. But in Jannah, Allah, when He will bestow His ridwan, His pleasure, He will never be upset with the people of Jannah again. Never ever. This is why it has been said, وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ, it is akbar, it is the greatest. Because if a person has everything, but he does not have the ridwan of Allah, then what good are those blessings? What good are those blessings? A person cannot find any enjoyment in them. If you know you have everything, but your mother is upset with you, your father is upset with you, constantly that guilt is going to eat you up. It will not let you enjoy. But in Jannah, the enjoyment is so complete, the pleasure is so complete, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inform the people of Jannah that I have bestowed my pleasure upon you and I will never be upset with you again. Never. I will never be upset with you again. وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. Also from other ahadith, we learn that once the people of Jannah will be admitted into Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will address them, Ya Ahl al-Jannah, Ya Ahl al-Jannah, O people of Jannah. And He will ask them that, are you pleased? And they will say, we are pleased, so be pleased with us. قَدْ رَضِينَا فَارْضَ عَنَّا. We are happy with you, so you become happy with us. So Allah will say, O people of Jannah, if I were not pleased with you, I would not have made you inhabitants of my paradise. Because I am pleased with you, that's why I have admitted you into my Jannah. So ask me, what do you want? So they will all give the same response, that show us your face, so we may look at it. We want to see you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove His veil and He will show Himself to them. He will show Himself to them. And this will be, again, Ridwanu min Allahi akbar, and the great pleasure, like in the dua of the Prophet ﷺ, that the ladha, the enjoyment of looking at your face. Again, the enjoyment of Jannah is so complete. There is pleasure, there is satisfaction, there is contentment, and they will be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all. With every desire, with every need fulfilled. Let's listen to the recitation of this ayah.
وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ أُولَئِكَ سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ وعد الله المؤمنين والمؤمنات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ومساكن طيبة في جنات عدن ورضوان من الله أكبر ذلك هو الفوز العظيم